When a bank manager declined to assist a man sporting a MAGA hat, she was unaware that he was among the most influential individuals globally. The events that unfolded next rendered the whole town and her utterly speechless. As the clock chimed 11:45 a.m., the First Horizon Bank in Waco, Texas, thrummed with the familiar energy of the midday rush. Businessmen in tailored suits balanced stacks of documents and steaming coffee mugs. Retirees shared courteous smiles as they awaited their turn, while tellers operated with precision behind their counters. Seated behind the manager's desk was Brenda Hartwell, a veteran bank manager boasting more than 20 years in the field, recognized for her straightforward demeanor and steadfast dedication to the bank's regulations. While Brenda sifted through the loan applications, the subtle creak of the entrance door drew her focus. A man entered, standing just over 6 feet tall, donning a red baseball cap emblazoned with striking white letters. "Restore the greatness of America," it proclaimed. His laid-back attitude stood in stark contrast to the typical formal wear expected in the bank. With a small briefcase firmly in one hand, he stood in line, his gaze sweeping across the room. Brenda's jaw clenched. That hat was familiar to her, symbolizing separation and animosity. The memory of a heated argument with a customer last month lingered in her mind, rooted in their conflicting political views. Resolute in her intent to prevent a similar occurrence, she leaned in and murmured to her assistant manager, "Diane, keep an eye on this guy. Let's avoid any complications." As his moment arrived, the man confidently made his way to Brenda's desk. "Good afternoon," he remarked, extending a courteous nod. "I would like to request a withdrawal from my account." Brenda cast a fleeting look upward. "Could you please provide your account details and identification?" she inquired sharply. Indeed, the man responded, setting both items down on the desk. Brenda perused the documents, her initial doubts intensifying. The name of the man was unknown and the hat stood out. Her mind was consumed by a singular thought. "Apologies," she murmured at last, pushing the papers back in his direction. "Unfortunately, we are unable to fulfill your request today." The man blinked, clearly surprised. "Beg your pardon? Is there a problem with my account?" Brenda gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "We have no problem with that, however, we maintain the right to decline service if we deem it necessary." Gasps echoed among the nearby customers. The man's demeanor stayed composed, yet his voice took on a more pointed edge. "I would appreciate clarification on what you mean by warranted. I have committed no offense." Brenda paused, her voice softening. "I'd prefer not to engage in a debate. If you wish, you may reach out to another branch regarding this matter." The man took a brief moment to examine her expression. In silence, he gathered his papers, straightened his cap, and exited the bank with purpose. Soft murmurs began to circulate among the other patrons. A few nodded in silent accord with Brenda's position, while others cast bewildered glances, evidently pondering the events they had just observed. However, the true revelation was still on the horizon. As the man emerged into the open, the heavy glass door shut behind him with a muted thud, creating an almost palpable tension in the atmosphere. Brenda adjusted her stance, striving to dispel the uncomfortable gazes from several spectators. She exuded confidence in her choice, or so she reassured herself. Diane bent forward. "Was that really needed?" she murmured, her tone soft yet laced with worry. Brenda's lips pressed together tightly. "We must avoid a repeat of last month's incident. This space will not become a site for political conflict." On the sidewalk, the man came to a halt. His fingers lingered near the edge of his hat, contemplating the decision to remove it. He cast a fleeting look back through the expansive windows of the bank, his face a mask of inscrutability, before turning and departing. A few patrons near the entrance observed his serene exit and exchanged whispers among one another. "Who was that individual?" an elderly man inquired, shaking his head in disbelief. "Appeared courteous, perhaps?" A different customer, a woman in her 30s, simply shrugged her shoulders. "It's of no consequence." Individuals often overlook the fact that private enterprises have the authority to establish their own regulations. Perhaps he took some action prior to our arrival. Brenda caught snippets of the conversations around her, yet she maintained her concentration on the computer screen, feigning indifference. Yet, her fingers quivered ever so slightly as she tapped away at the keys. The man's serene composure disturbed her more than any furious clash ever could. Many individuals in his situation might have objected, elevated their tones, or perhaps even sought the corporate contact to lodge a grievance. Yet this individual? He simply exited the scene. Stillness. Regulated. Nearly excessively restrained. As the day drew to a close, the incident had transformed into the focal point of conversation throughout the branch. Brenda caught snippets of chatter as the employees wrapped up their day. Did you catch the expression on his face? Not even upset, one teller murmured to the other. I find myself pondering whether he will return. Typically, individuals of that nature tend to do so, the second one responded. Brenda dismissed them with a wave, securing her office door as she stepped out. She dismissed their noise and convinced herself it was finished. She considered that the man would transition to a different bank. Individuals of his kind rarely stirred up trouble face to face. They ignited a conversation online. As Brenda navigated the road home that evening, the image of the man's composed, almost intentional departure lingered in her mind. She switched on the radio, seeking to silence the noise in her mind. Yet, even the cheerful country station she adored couldn't completely dispel the persistent unease. Tomorrow will unveil the truth. That was what Brenda believed. The early light enveloped the quaint bank in a gentle radiance. Yet within, the ambience was distinctly charged. Brenda made her entrance ahead of schedule, as was her custom, cradling a cup of coffee while her thoughts wandered to the tasks that lay before her. She reassured herself that it was merely another Thursday. The gentleman from yesterday would not come back. What would motivate him to do that? As the clock approached mid-morning, the familiar stream of customers started to filter in, and Brenda felt her confidence swell. The unease from yesterday's incident had begun to dissipate, giving way to the steady cadence of the bank's daily functions. At exactly 10:30 a.m., the door creaked open once more. He had returned. The same man entered, yet this time, the atmosphere in the room appeared to pause for an instant. Brenda stood still, her heart racing in her chest. In contrast to the previous day, he found himself in the company of others. Two men in tailored suits stood beside him, their demeanor demanding notice. The man donned the familiar red cap, yet his posture conveyed a subtle shift, hinting at a change within. He advanced with intent, his demeanor serene yet penetrating. Soft murmurs began circulating among the patrons and staff. Diane leaned closer to Brenda, her voice barely a whisper. Brenda, that's Elon Musk. Brenda blinked, certain she had misunderstood. What do you mean? She spat in response. Diane gestured toward the man who was now approaching Brenda's desk with purpose. Observe him closely. That is Elon Musk, the individual associated with Tesla. SpaceX is a pioneering force in the realm of aerospace innovation. Wealthy individual. Brenda felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. She gazed at the man, her thoughts swirling. Could it truly be him? The hat, the attaché case, the modest exterior. It clashed with the perception of one of the globe's most iconic personalities. Yet as he drew nearer, the likeness became unmistakable. She was abruptly overcome by a sense of dizziness. The atmosphere grew still as Elon paused at Brenda's workstation. He took off his cap with deliberate slowness, unveiling the well-known visage that had appeared in numerous news articles and interviews. His eyes fixed intently on hers. The stillness was overwhelming. Good morning, Elon remarked, his voice calm and courteous. I would like to discuss something. Brenda felt a constriction in her throat, yet she managed to maintain a composed smile. Mr. Musk, He raised a hand, halting her in the midst of her words. Let's not act as if this didn't occur, he stated with composure. Yesterday I entered as a typical customer and you declined to serve me. I'm not here to debate. I'm here to discuss the reasons behind it. Brenda sensed the weight of every gaze in the room upon her. She grappled with her thoughts, yet no words emerged. Elon maintained a calm demeanor. There was no necessity for him to do so. His mere existence commanded focus. Elon continued, addressing not just Brenda but the entire room, expressing his belief that we all make judgments. It's a part of being human, yet often those assessments reveal more about ourselves than they do about the individuals we scrutinize. He set the cap down on the desk, the striking white letters prominently displayed. This hat is quite remarkable. It's merely material and stitching. Yet for certain individuals it represents something more profound. For some it's merely a goal. Yesterday that was sufficient to refuse me service. Not due to my behavior, but rather because of your perceptions of me. Brenda's cheeks burned with warmth. She yearned to articulate her thoughts, to clarify her position, yet Elon continued unabated. I'm not here to cast judgment, he said, his tone gentle. Let me take a moment to remind everyone that the world is far more intricate than it appears at first glance. One's narrative often remains hidden from view. Their intentions remain unclear to us. Should we allow our assumptions to lead the way, we may overlook the extraordinary, whether it be an experience or an individual. The atmosphere in the room was completely still. The printers in the back had fallen silent. Brenda sensed that the very earth she stood on had disappeared. She averted her eyes from him. Yet, the moment lingered on. Elon had yet another unexpected twist in store. Elon's words hung in the atmosphere, rich with significance. Brenda remained motionless, the intensity of every gaze in the room bearing heavily upon her. At last, she found her voice to whisper. "I didn't mean." Elon raised a hand gently. "I understand," he stated, his tone resolute yet gentle. "Often individuals do not intend to pass judgment. It's instinctive. What occurs next? That is what shapes our identity." He shifted subtly, his eyes gliding over the space. Customers and employees were left in a state of disbelief, many holding their phones, unable to capture the extraordinary moment unfolding before them. His gaze fell upon a young teller at the rear who appeared to wish she could vanish behind her desk. "May I ask what your name is?" Elon inquired, his tone resonating throughout the space yet maintaining a sense of composure. "Lauren," the teller faltered, evidently taken by surprise. "Lauren, how would you respond if someone entered wearing an outfit that didn't align with your views? Would you evaluate them based on their attire? Or would you invest the effort to truly grasp their essence?" Lauren paused, casting a wary glance at Brenda before responding. "I would make an effort to treat them just like everyone else." Elon acknowledged with a slight smile tugging at the edges of his lips. "That's a solid response," he remarked. "In reality, it tends to be more challenging, doesn't it?" The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension. Brenda yearned for the moment to conclude, yet Elon had more to say. He turned back to her, his voice becoming even gentler. "Brenda, I believe you have good qualities. It seems you might be a person who, similar to others, operated under a certain assumption. However, making assumptions can lead to perilous outcomes. They have the potential to cause harm to others. They have the ability to shut doors we were unaware had been ajar." Brenda's voice trembled as she finally found the words. "I never intended to cause any offense. I believed I was safeguarding the bank." Elon inclined his head ever so slightly. "What exactly are we safeguarding it against? A client attempting to access their own funds?" The question lingered, elusive and without resolution. Brenda's cheeks burned with embarrassment. She felt the urge to articulate her stance, to convey that the hat had transformed into a representation of discord, that her intention was to steer clear of turmoil. Yet, confronted with Elon's composed presence and unwavering reasoning, her statements seemed devoid of substance. "Here's the situation," Elon stated, his voice elevating slightly to capture the attention of everyone present. "Each step we take communicates something significant. Yesterday, the message I got was clear: you don't fit in here. I suppose I'm not the only one who has felt this way in this bank." "Am I really?" A soft whisper flowed among the gathered people. A few inclined their heads slightly. Some averted their gaze, feeling uneasy. Brenda felt a tumultuous wave in her stomach as the weight of the situation started to settle in. This extended beyond merely Elon Musk. It concerned each individual who had ever faced unspoken scrutiny. Every individual who has experienced exclusion due to circumstances beyond their influence. Elon rested against the counter, his gaze fixed intently on Brenda. "There's a silver lining. We all have the potential to improve. That's the reason for my presence. Not to impose consequences, but to serve as a reminder for all, myself included, that we hold the power in deciding how we treat others." For the first time, Brenda experienced a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this experience, though embarrassing, might pave the way for something greater. However, Elon took an unexpected turn. He stood tall and motioned towards one of the suited gentlemen. A figure advanced, clutching a polished black folder with purpose. Elon grasped it, unfolded it, and extracted a solitary sheet of paper. "This," Elon remarked, raising it high, "is a commitment to donate. I have chosen to donate $500,000 to the Waco Community Relief Fund. I recognize that this bank has played a crucial role in backing local charities, and I am committed to ensuring that this support persists." Gasping echoed throughout the space. Brenda's eyes grew large, her embarrassment now intertwined with incredulity. A handful of employees offered a tentative clap, their uncertainty evident in the air. Elon pressed on, unwavering. "This contribution isn't about me," he stated. "This is a narrative centered around a community. This serves as a reminder that each of us possesses the ability to create change, no matter our origins, convictions, or the roles we assume." He set the paper down on the counter and pushed it gently in Brenda's direction. "I have confidence that you'll ensure it reaches its destination." Brenda gazed at the document, her hands quivering as she lifted it. I'm at a loss for words." Elon offered a subtle smile. "In that case, remain silent. Allow your deeds to convey your message." With that, Elon pivoted and exited, leaving the room enveloped in a profound silence. Yet, the tale had only just begun. As soon as Elon Musk exited the bank, the atmosphere shifted, filled with muted discussions and hurried murmurs. Both customers and employees found it challenging to comprehend the events that had just unfolded. Brenda stayed at her desk, her gaze fixed on the $500,000 pledge form she held tightly. Her mind whirled, caught in a conflict of embarrassment and an unexpected feeling of liberation. "I can't believe that was Elon Musk," Diane said, leaning against Brenda's desk, her voice barely above a whisper. "And he simply contributed $500,000. Brenda nodded faintly, struggling to form a clear reply. Her thoughts continually echoed his words. Each of us possesses the ability to create change, no matter the roles we assume. It transcended mere financial gain. It centered around the message he had conveyed, one that revealed a significant shortcoming in her judgment. The news of the incident circulated swiftly. By the afternoon, the narrative was already creating a buzz online. A handful of patrons present at the bank recounted fragments of the altercation on social media, prompting local news organizations to swiftly cover the story. Headlines such as "Elon Musk highlights bias at local bank, contributes $500,000 to community fund" inundated Twitter and Facebook. Brenda's phone vibrated incessantly with notifications from the corporate world, each one pressing for answers. She dedicated hours to crafting an official statement, meticulously weighing accountability against the need for damage control. The bank issued a statement recognizing the incident and commending Musk's generosity, yet it did little to calm the uproar of public sentiment. In the meantime, the community started to hum with energy. The Waco Community Relief Fund, a local organization dedicated to assisting underprivileged families, has been inundated with inquiries regarding Musk's donation. For years, the fund faced challenges in securing substantial financial support, depending on modest donations from local enterprises and community members. With $500,000 on the table, the opportunities appeared limitless.